Umajin is a fundamentally faster platform to design, develop, and deploy software. It really enables you to build anything. Those could be workflows and dashboards, mapping and tracking. You could be streaming IoT data and overlaying them on top of 3D digital twins. You could be doing virtual reality scenario training, visualizations and data overlays, essentially broad-scale simulation. And the great thing is it runs on any device. It could be a desktop or mobile Mac, desktop mobile Windows PC, iOS, Android, and on VR and AR. We're fundamentally faster because of one key concept. This idea that your design thinking cycle could be in days or in hours. You can still interact when you need to, because sometimes you will need to create code, particularly if there's some unique proprietary system you have to talk to or some new function you need. And you can talk to developers in that normal kind of weekly sprint cycle, which is really important so they can get the right code and the right security. And then the great thing is this whole thing is multi-user, so you can be in multiple locations all working together on the same project in real time. This is based on the concept of building blocks. So you get a whole bunch of components and feeds, actions, and then all the components have their own properties. And then there's a whole series of technology building blocks we provide. The great thing is you can build your own components. Your developers can build your own components. So everybody's working on the same platform. And then the way we make this fast for the general user is this idea of goal-directed development. So if you set up, let's say, 3 goals that you want to achieve or 3 actions that you want to achieve, all of these goals are effectively filtered through the AI automation layer, and then that's going to work to achieve those outcomes. So if you think of it, it doesn't know what you want to do until you tell it, but its main purpose in life is to use all of these domain-specific categories of information and clever background processing, game engine technologies, real-time technologies, network streaming technologies, to achieve those outcomes for you without having to understand all the plumbing, which is really important. And so essentially we bring in elements of enterprise development. So you've got low-level coding tools if you need them, so that comes in. You can think of this as a third. We've got the game engine technologies and we've got the low-code tools. And each of these are really important because the low-code tools is what makes the goal-directed development so powerful. You're just specifying simple lists of actions, which the system figures out how to do. And a lot of that comes from the idea of game engine technologies, where for decades they have been artist-driven tools. The idea that the game programming team are in charge of making the engine achieve the outcomes that the artists want. And in our context, those are the designers and the business users. And then from the perspective of the architecture, this is all in service of the end user and bringing it into one environment. So up here we have the cloud, which is really where all the content and essentially the conversation goes on with the editor. So as you're using the editor, there might be 20 of you working on a project at the same time. All those assets are being synchronized with the cloud in real time, and then you effectively go through a publishing step to access all of these end users. So all of those end users get the content when you're ready to share it. And then on this side, we have the Umajin Server API, and this effectively acts as a little gateway here to the developers so they can see what the server capabilities are, and then there's a firewall here which can access all of these internal systems, or in fact external SaaS hosted systems. So all of your databases, all of your external procedures, your REST calls can be wrapped, secured, and monitored. And the great thing about that is you build them into your application here in the editor, and then all of these are available directly through the authentication and security layer, all of those same end users. So this is where your live data comes from, and this is where your content comes from. And the important thing about this architecture is all of these pieces are here inside the Umajin puzzle. So not just the editor, but the content management and the data management. And that saves you having to use potentially tens of different sets of tools.